Let's have a look at Chiliz again, and let's look at the related tokens. There's not just the CHZ token, there are also tokens that are part of the same family. Namely, we've got the GAL token, so a fan token for a specific football club. We've also got the Inter Milan token, so that's just Inter. And what you want to look at is relative performance, as in how is the Chiliz token currently doing, not just in US dollars, but also relative to Bitcoin and relative to Ethereum. And then we're also going to look at those fan tokens. How are those performing? And here the same concept. We're not just going to look at the US dollar chart, but we are going to look at relative valuation to Ethereum and then relative valuation to the Chiliz token. As in, do you get compensated for the risk when buying a fan token that you do get outperformance, or how are things actually developing over the long term? So let's start off with simply just the base token, the Chiliz token. Now what's interesting around this chart, right? This is the US dollar chart, is that when there's positive news coming out, positive momentum, we do get these massive outsized returns, right? This is an 8,000% return. But if there's nothing fundamentally impressive coming, then the price tends to bleed. And this is an interesting token because usually you've got more correlation across different cryptocurrencies. The correlation of the Chiliz token to Bitcoin isn't that high. So when we look at Chiliz measured in Bitcoin, right, so this is now the Chiliz price divided by the Bitcoin price, the charts, they don't look that different, right? We've got our rally and then our subsequent decline. In US dollars, maybe the volatility, those movements within that downtrend, they're a bit higher. So the width of this downtrend is wider. In Bitcoin, some of that volatility is taken away by the overall market, but still the chart pattern is very similar. This is Chiliz in Ethereum. We've got the same concept. We've got a bit more of an initial dump here, but still we are currently rather declining. And this decline, it might not look like much, but if we just look at this, right, if you take the middle point of that trend channel, this is a bit over a year and an underperformance of roughly 40% versus Ethereum. So this trend actually does matter, right? Just hold it for another year and you still lose another 40% if the trend prevails. And what's even worse about this is if we just look at the very short term, this tends to be comparatively expensive, right? Just if we go down within this trend, we are also looking at a 40% decline roughly, which could happen relatively quickly. So that's in Ethereum. In Bitcoin, we are not that elevated within the trend channel, but still, if we were to go down, if people continue to be risk off, that's a relative underperformance of 36% or so. So that's the problem, right? When in general, the market is rather bearish, when risk appetite is low, when interest rates rise, when tech stocks go down, then going deeper and deeper into the cryptocurrency world, looking at smaller and smaller altcoins tends to be not a winning strategy, right? You want to be following overall momentum. The trend is your friend and the trend is currently down. And so you're not just losing in terms of US dollars, you're even losing versus Bitcoin and Ethereum. You're losing more than the average person that just stays with the top cryptocurrencies. Now let's look one more step further. Let's look at these fan tokens. Let's first look at Inter USD, right? In US dollars, this is no nice performance, a drop of 70%, but everything went down, right? So let's look at Inter in Ethereum. And this doesn't look as bad. It's actually surprisingly positive. The drop in relative terms is only quote unquote 7%. We have our volatility here, but maybe it might even make sense to try to trade this volatility to a certain degree, right? But again, currently, this is rather the time to be risk off. This would rather look like a decline of more than 50% or so versus Ethereum, not even in US dollars. Now, when Ethereum goes down as well, then in US dollars, of course, the Inter token will even compound those losses, right? It will be 50% down on top of another maybe 50% down for Ethereum. So you would be 75% down. Now, what about those fan tokens relative to Chiliz? This is what we're getting. Again, a relatively constant sidewards trading range, and again, relatively high within that trading range. So I would, in the current market environment, not necessarily touch this, right? If you're actively trading, I would rather buy this low. But even then, when deciding to speculate on something like this, still the overall market should be more bullish, right? If nothing so far went up, then it's unlikely that the fan tokens, they will be the first that go up. So first you want to see the more or less riskless altcoins to perform. And if that happens, if you see total 3, for example, not declining that quickly anymore, then it might make sense to take on some risk with those fan tokens. If, of course, monetary gain is your target and it's not just buying to support the team or something like this. This is Gala in US dollars. So that underperformance since inception is 70% versus Ethereum. Again, somewhat of a range. Here we are not so elevated. Here we are pretty much in the middle. Still, the downside potential, I think, is not currently worth the investment, right? You could lose quite a bit. When speculating in something like this, you want to make sure that you can set at least a reasonable stop loss. And where do you really set a stop loss here relative to Ethereum, which then justifies sufficient upside? This is Gala in Chiliz, and the chart doesn't look that different, right? This is in Ethereum, this is in Chiliz. There's simply a lot of idiosyncratic movements going on with those fan tokens. They are very narrow. Just a little bit of capital can move them quite a bit. And so it's probably one of the riskiest plays you can do within crypto besides, say, ICO investments or very small NFT collections. If it just comes to altcoins, those fan tokens are probably more or less the riskiest thing that you can buy within crypto. And currently, risk appetite is low. Currently, Chiliz tends to decline. Currently, Chiliz tends to be very expensive versus Ethereum. So it's not necessarily the message that's popular, right? But I simply think of this in terms of risk versus reward. And currently, the risk with the overall crypto market being so high and the risk appetite being so low, why be the person that's so contrarian that fights the overall trend? Why not at least wait for some kind of a bottom formation or for some kind of relative valuation to be favorable? Nobody knows where the dice will land next, right? But if you just play with odds here, and I think crypto is a game of odds, then at this moment in time, the odds are probably not in favor of something like Chiliz or even any of those fan tokens. So in case you appreciate this kind of an objective way to look at things that's not just hype, then feel free to subscribe. And of course, a like on this video would be nice as well. You might also consider our public Telegram group that's to be found at Bitcoin Strategy Channel. Simply search for that within the Telegram app. And last but not least, you can check out the premium membership. The link is in the video description. It's thebitcoinstrategy.com. More information is in this video over here. Thanks for watching and hope to see you in that video. Bye-bye.